My name is Linda Westphalen. I'm the coordinator of the fourth year programs for the School of Education here at the University of Adelaide, and I have you captive for the next half hour. Hopefully you've got some questions you want to ask me at the end, so please feel free. We also have a stand over in Nexus 10, which is on the corner of North Terrace and Pulteney Street, so if you head towards Scots Church but go the other corner, then you're in the right direction, and probably you will find the right people to talk to. And in half an hour's time, one of those people will be me. All right. What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about teaching. We're going to talk about how the demand for teaching is going, so those of you who have questions about jobs, and we're going to see where our education qualification would take you in terms of its compatibility with overseas qualifications, but also what happens in South Australia as well. There is an increased demand for quality teachers across the board in education. So these days, it's not enough to be upright and breathing and be a chemistry teacher. You have to be a good upright and breathing, good at chemistry teacher. So that level of quality is becoming quite a national push. We're looking for local teachers too because we have an ageing teacher population. The average age for teachers in South Australia is around 55, and that means by the time most of you will be qualifying, say between 4 years' time, most of those folk will be looking for retirement. So what we're hoping, and we're thinking about around 5,000 teachers will retire in the next couple of years. So that means there's going to be a gap, and I'm hoping that young, vibrant and older, vibrant people can fit those gaps, because that's where we need teachers and good quality teachers too. Why the University of Adelaide? Because we're very good. Really? We're very good. I have my dream, and I tell this to my teachers all the time, and they know it now and they're getting sick of me because they know I'm not Martin Luther King. When I say I have a dream, they all go, oh, here it is again. My dream is this. I want a potential employer to have, a job, and they will have maybe 6 people shortlisted for that job. 2 from UniSA, 2 from Flinders, 2 from the University of Adelaide. What I'd like for them to happen is to go, okay, here's a bin. I've got 6 people here. Flinders, not even going to look at those. Straight in a bin. Huh? I want them to go, UniSA, no. Straight in a bin. University of Adelaide, let's see who's better out of these 2 applicants, because they could be really good. We know the program that they do is top-notch. We know that the teaching quality at the University of Adelaide is absolutely exemplary, and we know that this is a Geo8 university. That means a group of 8 university, one of the top universities in Australia, with an incredibly research-based focus, but looking these days to really pull in the quality teaching that brings out quality graduates, employable, job-ready graduates. That is our aim, which just happily sort of fits in with my dream. So I'll talk to you a bit more about the University of Adelaide, the School of Education as well. Then we have a couple of degree programs which I will tell you about. One of those is the Bachelor of Teaching. The second is the Postgraduate Diploma in Education. I'll give you a bit of a profile of a teacher. If you're a parent, by the way, you're about 80% there, so there's a few things we can add to that, but yeah. And then we'll have some questions hopefully at the end. All right, so the School of Education, that's a picture, by the way, there of the School of Education in the sun, just in case you should think we don't have sun on occasion. My office is on the 8th floor. We also have some offices on the 6th floor. We at the school have 2 main streams, one of which is teacher education, which is where me and my colleague Nina Mardad run the teacher education courses. Then we have a higher education stream as well. Our offerings are all there, as you can see, listed up. We have everything from undergraduate degrees, graduate diploma, graduate certificates, masters by coursework, masters by research with some specialisations, a professional doctorate, and a Doctor of Philosophy. So we do practically everything except make coffee, okay? The higher education, so this is quite an important stream, because these days in universities you can't teach in a university until you've got some kind of qualification at the higher level. So you'll get the job, but they will expect that you will do some kind of teaching qualification so that you know what you're doing when you're doing your own teaching there. So we have the graduate certificates in education in higher education, that's for people like me. Also for doing things like online learning, because universities are now changing in line with schools. We're actually a little bit behind the schools. The online learning part means that they're blended learning, that is a kind of cross between face-to-face learning like we're doing now, combined with some kind of online elements, so looking at YouTube and Facebook, looking at online learning in terms of using our own Blackboard pad, which is called MyUni, and online lectures. All of this stuff is out there for this to be used. There is an articulation into a Masters of Education where you can specialise, but a Masters of Education doesn't qualify you in our university for teaching. For that you need the Bachelor of Teaching or the Graduate Diploma in Education, and here we're starting to talk about that. Teacher education. So we focus particularly on secondary school, years 8 to 12. We can squeeze in year 7, but we prefer not to go lower than that because it tends to be a specialised. Primary school teaching is quite different from secondary school teaching. It's a lot more specialised, and you deal with the kids from 8:30 till 3:30 all day, very often with no breaks. And I don't know about you, but that's not my cup of tea. We have a senior secondary specialisation with 2 subject areas taught. All right, so the first one of these, the Bachelor of Teaching. This is a double degree with another degree, and I'll tell you what those other degrees are. You end up, though, after 4 years with 2 completed degrees. So you get to cross the stage in your medieval clown suit with your mortarboard on and shake the man wearing an awful lot of bling. He wears a lot of bling, the man. He gives you a piece of paper with your name on it and what your qualification is. You get to do that twice, which would be, it's quite a good qualification. It's a 4-year program. And you start in first year, you go through second year, third year, fourth year is a very focused on education year. You end up with a fully qualified degree that qualifies you to teach in South Australia for registration purposes. We deal with a group called the TRB, the Teachers Registration Board, that people think they're part of DEX, but they're actually something that's quite separate. You can't teach anywhere in Australia unless you've got registration, and that registration is quite important. So it's actually illegal to employ you. People, don't go there, probably not a good idea. So registration purposes in all sectors of South Australian schools, many interstate and many countries overseas. So this is transportable, this degree. It is recognised overseas. I don't know about places like Saudi Arabia and Brunei, but mostly overseas you're fine. The structure is this. So the first 3 years, the focus is on the other academic degree. What schools want and what parents want is for their teachers to have a good grounding in content knowledge, which is why the undergraduate degree in the other degree is very, very useful. So you'd start off with primary schools interaction, which is a school experience. You go into a primary school, you work out how schools work, pretty much. Then you look at schools and policies. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I would rather put pencils in my eyes than teach policy. But we have a great lecturer in that who's turned this potentially incredibly boring topic into something really, really interesting. And one thing you might need to note is that the University of Adelaide has a policy of having something called the Small Group Discovery Experience, where all people in first year will do a mini research project. So those of you who thought doing the research project in Year 12 and it was all over, that is just the beginning. They're going to take that experience. Oh no, I can hear the groans from here. Ooh. Yeah, I know, shaking of heads. Oh, I want to do the research project. Universities, it's our lifeblood. It's the thing we do. We do teaching, but we also do a lot of research. So that research project is built into that topic and it works extremely well and it is very enjoyable. Second year, issues and professional practice and research. The reason why we put professional practice and research in there is because teaching is basically a research project ongoing. So think of action research is what it's called. So it works like this. You've got a problem, so you think of something that might solve it and you try it and you see. And if it works, you keep doing it until it stops working and then you try something else and then you do that. If it doesn't work, then you try something else and maybe that'll work and you just keep doing that because that's what the whole issue of teaching is. It's like an ongoing problem-solving exercise. So that working out of what to do does require a bit of research, a bit of thinking about what you could possibly do to make a kid's life better, to make the learning happen for them. And that's important to note. Professional practice and research, therefore, is something that underpins a lot of teaching practice. Third year, reflective practice. The way that teaching works is you improve your teaching by thinking about what worked and what didn't. So you've got your own teaching to think about and reflect on. And that means that you're also thinking about innovation, how you can get the new ideas happening, how you can get the new pedagogy, that's how you teach, that could involve ICTs, for example, how that could then inform the teaching, because it's all about the students and learning. That's the critical thing. The secondary school's interaction is a country school experience. How many of those people here come from the country? Oh, is it not awesome living in the country? Yes. There are some people nodding heads. There are some people going, I don't know, city looks pretty attractive. Let me tell you how it works. The students come in and they say, you know what, I'm so not going to the country. I want an exemption. I hate the country. I'm not going there. I don't know what it's like. I'm not going there because it's the country and it could be really bad. And I'm stuck there for 2 whole weeks. Yuck. And we go, no, you're going. And they get on the bus like this. I don't want to go. Right. On the bus, get there, do the 2 weeks experience. They come off the bus going, that was the best experience I have ever had. I had so much fun. And this is because country schools aren't the same as metro schools. Country schools are a community. Everyone supports one another. Everyone works together. Everyone helps each other with the classes. So there's this whole little community happening, which does happen in some metro schools, but not as much as in the country. So the secondary school's interaction country school experience is a lot of fun, and it's a highly recommended part of that first 3 years. Then the 4th year hits, and this is the bit where the focus changes from the other degree to the teaching degree. In this, we have 2 5-week professional experiences, one of which is usually in a country school. We have curriculum and methodology courses, so those are the subject areas that you teach. And then we have core courses, one of which is the student-teacher interaction course, which is a nice way of saying how to deal with the naughty kids, yes. And then we have education, culture and diversity, how to deal with students who come from different language backgrounds or who may have disabilities, kids who may come from an Indigenous background. So all that idea of diversity and inclusion is built into that second core course. Which degrees? Well, there they are. Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Maths and Computing Science, and Economics. Any of those will fit in with the Bachelor of Teaching. The advantage? Well, you get immediate interaction with schools, and that interaction is ongoing. You have the ability to relate theoretical and academic courses to school teaching over 4 years. So you have time to develop the pedagogy, the curriculum knowledge, so the what you teach, but also the how you teach it. And it's an academic degree that's tailored to existing school curriculum. So for example, we never used to teach psychology in schools. Now we do, and there's quite a few schools that teach psychology. So those students coming through with psychology in their teaching, their Bachelor of Teaching, in their other degree that is, then they can come through and teach that straight into their teaching repertoire that they take out to schools. So it's very responsive. The entry requirements are a SACE certificate, or if you come from overseas, and we have quite a few overseas students. The selection is via SATAC, so get in your SATAC form. And the ATAR is around 75 to 80, and that would depend on what the other degree requires. So sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. It just depends on the degree combination. Right, the second entry point is the graduate diploma in education. This is the pathway for those people who've made the decision later or who have finished their undergraduate degree, maybe didn't get into the Bachelor of Teaching the first round, finished but then still want to do teaching and come in after they've graduated and got their bit of paper the first time round. It's still a 4-year program, but I need to tell you that according to whichever federal group you want to talk to politically, we're going to have 1 year or we're going to have a 2-year Masters of Teaching. And I have to say, I'm not sure which way it'll go, because while they'll say we will have 2 years, no one is telling us how they're going to fund it. So we're in a little quandary here where we think it'll probably go for 2 years in 2015. That should not affect the Bachelor of Teaching, but if it does, we will let you know. The entry requirements are a completed undergraduate degree and subjects that meet current curriculum offerings. So if you've got a graduate degree in anthropology, you can't actually become a secondary school teacher because they don't teach anthropology in secondary schools. There's a few other subject areas like that too. So if you've got a degree in podiatry, you can't actually become a teacher. Can you imagine being a teacher of podiatry in a secondary school? Parents, have you actually looked at your kids' socks lately? And ew, does everyone know what podiatry is? The study of people's feet? I'd want tongs and big long gloves and a mask and, almost a snorkel before I'd go near my teenagers' feet. No way. All right. Which degrees? Arts, science, maths, psychology, music, languages, ESL, economics, accounting and business studies, and you need 2 learning areas. That's not a definitive list, by the way. There are some other things that can happen with that. We do things like gender studies, legal studies, politics. They are all part of that degree process. The 4th year, the grad structure, so it's the same as the Bachelor of Teaching, except it happens at the 4th year level straight in. So it's a fairly intensive year. 2 5-week professional experiences, again, one of which is in the country, the curriculum methodology courses and the core courses. I should say with the professional experiences, those are full-time. It's a full-time expectation. It's a half a teacher's load. So you're not teaching what a full-time teacher would teach. You've got half of their load, but you're expected to be there from 8:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock right through until whenever the day finishes. So it's quite a long and involved and quite hard process. If you're planning on working during that time, better think again because it's quite intense. All right, if you're a parent, you've got kids, you'll know that they're fairly interesting. They can be incredibly irritating. They can be pretty grotty. They can be, a bit sort of annoying. They don't do things that you'd like them to do. Like they don't hang up their towel after having a shower. They just leave this wet mess on the floor, yeah? And they don't put their laundry in the laundry basket. And it's kind of annoying. And they'll say things that make you go, oh, yeah? Yes? And don't you love them to death? Don't you? They're just awesome. They are just awesome. If you're one of those people I've just spoken about, this is your embarrassing moment. You get to put your hand up if you're a person who's a teenager finishing school and thinking about going into teaching. Come on, you're out there. Come on. Own it up. Oh, come on. There's always one. Not putting my hand up. All right. So, folks, think about who you are. You're a teenager. You're finishing school. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Think of where you come from. Think about all of the social systems that are out there that we set up as adults to make sure that you are happy, that you're healthy, that you're fed, that you've got a house, that you've got a future. All of our social systems are pretty much set up, not for us, for our kids. That's what universities are for. That's what schools are for. So a lot of people become teachers because they want to make a difference. It might be that they've had a fantastic teacher in the past. They want to be just like them. Yeah? Mr. Lintner taught me biology. He was awesome. He also taught like this. He rocked. He was the great rocking man. We say, Mr. Lintner, can you please not rock? You're making me seasick. He'd go, okay. Thanks for that. Right. So, social systems are set up for you. Education is part of that. You want to be a teacher because you want to make a difference. The other part of the difference might be that you want to be a teacher because you were taught by someone who was not good at their job, who was awful. And you're saying, I so want to be better than that person. I want to have kids do a better job, have a better teacher than that person who wrecked it for me. So that's important. That is, the difference can be this small or it can be huge. Teachers make an enormous amount of difference because they're very, very powerful people. You think about the decisions that are made on your behalf in classrooms and you'll have some idea of what I'm talking about. We entrust the most valued people in our societies to teachers. We train them, we give them a piece of paper, we register them and we stick them in schools. And they are there because they love the kids and because they want to make a difference. And it's critical for them. We need good teachers desperately. We're going to have a great big hole we need to fix and fill, but we don't just want someone who's upright and breathing. We want someone who's good at what they do, who has the quality to go on, to know what their subject area is and to teach it well. We want teachers who are so good at their jobs that they go from graduate level teacher to lead teacher in 5 years. That's our aim. That's my aim for you if you come to the School of Education and want to be a teacher. And finally, the 2 pathways into teaching are designed for students with different needs, also for people who have finished degrees and want to do something later in their life, so they're doing a career change. I thank you very much for your time and attention. It's a wet, miserable day out there, and it's nice that people come out on their Sunday to find out where they could possibly go with their careers. Good luck with your deliberations on this. I keep telling people, you know that little black bag that you get with this on the front? I wanted a great big torch, by the way, or a lighthouse or something. The beacon of enlightenment is our new direction. I want you to take that bag and you fill it full of stuff. Anything that interests you at all. Fill it full of stuff. You take over a room at home and you put it all out. You find what there excites you, what makes you feel like you just so want to do that. Oh, this would be cool. You make that your aim. That's what you put on your SATAC form. That is what you put on your SATAC form. You've got your whole lives ahead, and I tell you, you work for a very long time. You've got to enjoy what you do. I will see you next year. If you have questions, please ask them. I'm happy to take questions. That was supposed to be a video, but it's never worked in any lecture I've ever done at this university. I don't know why. I think it's probably just a bad video, which is a good idea. There's an open night. So that is coming up on the 11th of December, so you'll see that around. And if you've got questions, now's the time. Yes, ma'am.
You said it's qualifies for most states of teaching.
Yep.
Is Western Australia one of those states?
Western Australia's no problem. The problem state, and it's always the problem state, and there's always one, you know. All right, that's New South Wales. All right, and they are out of step with the rest of Australia because they don't have a TRB equivalent, pretty much. But if you get a qualification here and go there and say, can I teach? They will say yes, because it's, you know, the degrees are recognised across Australia. Yeah. All right. And New Zealand too, by the way. There's also some options in New Zealand. Other things? Yes?
What's the cohort number like?
At the moment this year we have 220 people in the 4th year. About 2/3 of that will be BTeach and about 1/3 grad dip. In years, some years it swaps around, we have the other way, but it depends on who's coming through the BTeach to see how we go with it. The only limiting number for the reason why we only have around 220 people is the practicum, because all of those people have to be placed in schools to do their 5 weeks, the 2 5-week blocks. So the practicum means we keep the cohort pretty small.